Hi folks, Silly Moustache here. A few days ago I published a video about this, my National Estrelita resonator guitar with a wooden body, or at least a plywood body, and I thought it might be useful, of interest to some, for me to talk a little bit about resonator guitars, national guitars in particular, and about the things that we use on them, i.e. bottlenecks. So, these national guitars are associated more than anything else with playing slide, this sort of thing. But that's not what they were originally designed for. They came out in, I think, 1929. The first one was 3 small cones, which you still get, called the tricone. This is a single cone version, and they were made with metal bodies, and they were made to be loud to meet two markets. One, the Hawaiian, and the dance band market, competing against the Gibson and Epiphone style arch tops because they wanted just loud, and they certainly gave the volume, the projection really. So they enjoyed a pre-popularity from about 1929 to about 1935, which was when the electrified guitars came in and spoiled everything. I suspect that many of the old metal-bodied nationals, which were effectively terribly heavy, and thinking about a dance band player playing for 4 hours and things must be very tiring. I think they probably found themselves into pawn shops, and from thence into the hands of the less affluent of American society in the 20s and 30s, the blues players. And they found that resonance with a bit of broken bottle conveyed that blues feeling, that sadness. It emulates the human voice, the moan and the wail and things, which of course is the element of blues. And I've got to mention people like Tampa Red and Son House, who were probably some of the first people that recorded this kind of playing style. When I started messing around with guitars after being a drummer, sometime in the late 60s, mid to late 60s, bottleneck style seemed to be an easy option. You just got a bit of a bottle and you just ran it up and down the strings. It was easy, wasn't it? Yeah, well, it doesn't sound very nice like that. A bit more to it all than that, maybe a bit less. And also, of course, we encountered a lot of guitars with ridiculously high action. I'll talk about that a little bit later. When I got my National Style O in 2008, which was a magnificent thing, bell brass, nickel plated, engraved all over, a beautiful instrument, about the same weight as a small family car, and about as loud as a railway train. It was a beast, but I thought I deserved a good quality bottleneck. In between times, between about 1968 and about 2008, I did manage to acquire a few bottlenecks. Some were made, some were bought, and some, I don't know, just came my way. Probably started with that funny little thin bit of tube, and I found that my bucket of bottlenecks in a drawer when I was looking for something else in my workshop the other day, which gave me the idea for this video. With my Style O, I went to Diamond Slides, a British firm that makes glass bottlenecks for the purpose in many different styles, and they were very good to me. And this is my blue diamond. You might see that inside there is a piece of leather, and that is my methodology for getting mass and for holding onto it, and it doesn't get stuck onto my finger or anything like that. So I can just insert a bit of leather of my choice and it will suit me. Just twist it round and I'll get a good firm, and it's not going to fall off. So that was my diamond slide. Excellent piece of work, made hand blown non-leaded soda lime glass. But you knew that, didn't you? Just a small point, not all glass is as hard or as smooth or as suited for this style. Somewhere down the line, oh, that's a bluesy expression, down the line, I decided that I wanted to experiment with other things, and I availed myself of a friend's abilities to get hold of a piece of stainless steel intended for the internals of a Boeing 707, I believe, and he made this very nicely for me, and I'd actually forgotten I had this. Now you do hear the fret rattle a bit there. It tends to make me do that for some reason. Perhaps it's the weight. I'll talk about that later. And this very heavy brass job that I've only just found out is actually proprietary. Made it's a Jim Dunlop 224. I just looked these up. You can buy them quite cheaply in various sizes, but it's about 13 grams compared to this, which is about 8 grams, although it's stainless steel. And of course glass ones are much lighter. The density, the weight, the mass of the bottleneck does help quite a bit. Come back to that. What else did I want to tell you? My most recent acquisition was through the kind intervention of a friend of mine. Hi Lewis. And this is a phosphor bronze bottleneck made by a gentleman called Ben Burrows in Wales, and he makes steels for steel guitar, but he also makes these beautiful bottlenecks, beautifully finished, made to my requested internal dimensions, so it fits just perfectly for me at the moment. Don't need to put any leather in it. And so that's my latest toy. Many other makes and things are available, of course. I did assemble quite a few of these things, and I spent an afternoon with Tony Furtado cutting the necks off bottles. And that accounts for a few of these, I'm sure. It's all a matter of personal taste. We guitarists accumulate things. We accumulate picks and capos and straps, and if you play slide, these sort of things as well. So I've got 10 little hints and tips that I'd like to share with you, which I think might possibly help. Sorry, it's a dry day, I'm drying out, got to have a sip. 1. High action on a slide guitar is not necessary. This is set up to the same action as all my other guitars, which is about 80 to 90 on the treble and about 100, 110 on bass. 2. Heavy strings are not necessary. Very light strings aren't helpful. I used to, on my National Stylo, I used to put really heavy gauge strings on it. Wasn't necessary, just made it harder work. These are medium gauge strings, 56, but as a concession I do put another B string on the first string, so that's a 17 and that's a 17. My style. 3. The best method to use the slide is as lightly as possible. Took me a long time to learn this, and it applies equally to playing guitar and mandolin in a normal sort of way. And I wish I'd known it before I got through a good few numbers of refrets. You don't need to press the strings hard to get your notes. And the same with a slide. In fact, item 4 is to put the power in with the picking hand. But the same gentle pressure with that. So that's doing exactly the same thing. It's what you do with this hand that makes the volume and power. And heavier slides, this is number 5 I think, yeah, heavier slides do some of the work for you. All I'm doing is just placing it. This is my heavy slide. Let's find a really light slide. I think this might have been the first one I bought. Funny little bit of tubing. Yeah, I'm feeling I need to put a little bit more work in with that. Personal choice, of course. This is an eccentric point from me. I put used strings on my resonator. Only on this, not on my dobro. It occurs to me that with this sort of instrument, you're not hearing the quality of a string. These are nickels. They replace phosphor bronze. Phosphor bronze will go on afterwards, I expect. It doesn't matter, because all they're doing is aggravating that cone, and it's the cone you hear, not the string, I think. So with a set of strings, these have been on one of my arch tops for about a year. I took them off and I put them on the other day, and they've been a bit smoothed down, a bit worn down by my fingers over the years, and so you might get a smoother note. A lovely, bright, shiny new set of strings might be a little harsher. That's just a personal quirk of mine. Damping the strings behind the slide. I have to say, I simply cannot do this, but it's generally advised, and so you should consider it. You're making that note, but you don't want that note. If you can damp it a little bit. Frankly, I just don't do it because I can't. But bear that in mind. Try and damp behind the slide if you can. Buy a slide with plenty of room inside it. Don't buy a slide where you're really squeezing to get your finger in that internal diameter. This one, which is a Dunlop 224 I think, is way too big for me like that, but with a little bit of old leather if your wife's not using that leather jacket. Just saying. So, you know, that just pads it out, but I've got the mass. Of that extra heavy piece of metal, whichever metal it may be. What's the next one? 6-string slides. What we thought we were going to do when we got that old Hofner or old Echo, and we tuned it to probably open E, and we went, and we heard Little Red Rooster. It's noise. Just only need 1 or 2 notes. And that's where personal style comes in. But you don't need 6-string styles, 6-string slides, and it might end up sounding Hawaiian. What's the last one? The slide doesn't need to be used all the time. So have your action low enough so you can fret, and use the fretting. Don't overdo the slidey stuff. It can get a bit boring. So there's 10 items to consider. Please let me have your comments and queries, and I always try to answer those. I will put links to Ben Burrows and to Diamond Slides, and also to a make that I haven't mentioned because I don't own one. I'm acquainted with a gentleman that runs another British company called Wolfram Slides, or wolfram.com, something like that, who makes slides out of stainless steel and tungsten carbide. And I know that Martin Simpson is a fan of his tungsten carbides. Horrendously expensive, about 300 or something like that. But if you want the finest, cleanest sound, and Martin Simpson does want the finest, cleanest sound, tungsten carbide is the hardest metal that you can that we can make, we can get at the moment. So I'll put a link to that as well. Okay, David. That I think is about all I've got for you at the moment, and I hope that's been of interest. And let me have your comments. Bye.